Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 4 of the Tech Virtual Summit, our fourth and final day. You are in active learning strategies to address learning loss with smart technologies. My name is Nina Sclafani. I am the Senior Events Coordinator from Tech, and I am so happy that you've joined us today. I'm going to allow about 2 minutes for more people to enter the room. If you are new to our summit, welcome. And if you are a returning attendee, welcome to another session. I hope you've been enjoying it so far. Over the past 4 days, we've had some really wonderful sessions. We have heard from different companies like Farm Shelf on how to bring hydroponic growing to schools, to Sphero, the robotics company. It's been really wonderful hearing how all these companies have pivoted to make their products accessible for you as we enter this space of hybrid learning and distance learning. So it's been a really wonderful experience. Like I said, I'm going to allow about another minute for people to enter the room, but if you are just joining us, welcome to Active Learning Strategies to Address Learning Loss with Smart Technologies. Just to answer the question before I see it in the chat box, we are going to make a recording of this available, as well as a recording of all the rest of our sessions that we've run so far. You can access all of those on our YouTube page. I will be sending you a link to that in your follow-up email that you will receive within the next 24 hours. So you'll have access to this video as well as the presentation deck today. Okay, and with that, I'd like to get us started. As I mentioned, my name is Nina Sclafani. I'm the Senior Events Coordinator from Tech, and welcome to Active Learning Strategies to Address Learning Loss with Smart Technology. If you are new to Zoom, take your mouse, scroll over your screen, and you'll see the tab at the bottom there will pop up, the toolbar. There's a chat and a Q&A. Click on both of those and those can pop out. In the chat, let us know where you're from and what you teach, and make comments throughout the presentation. If you think there's something that's really excellent that you want to, make note of, throw it in the chat. We'd love to see the conversation. If you have a question for Marybeth or Matt, you can write that in the Q&A box. That way we have them separated so we don't miss your questions. So try to avoid putting the questions in the chat and put them in the Q&A box. If your question isn't addressed right away, don't worry. We're going to leave about 10 minutes at the end of the presentation to address any of those questions. And like I mentioned in the beginning, you will receive a recording of this presentation as well as the slide deck. And in the follow-up email, there's also going to be a line of copy that says you may use this email as proof of your attendance. We won't be issuing individual certifications for this one. So with that, I want to welcome Marybeth and Matt. Thank you both so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Nina.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. I will start off by letting you know that there are going to be some interactive parts of today's session. So if you would, those of you that are either coming in now or the rest of you, if you would open up a new tab and go to or type in hellosmart.com. You can see it on the screen. You're going to join as a guest, and the class ID is here on the screen in yellow. And we'll also go ahead and make sure that we put that in the chat, both hellosmart.com and the class ID today, which will be 42577. So we're going to give a couple, minutes for that. If we go ahead and put that in the chat, I'm not sure if it's already in there, but then we'll do some introductions.
Should be all set there.
Okay.
Put it one more time just to be sure it's there at the bottom. Join as a guest.
Perfect. All right. So I can tell we have a couple people that again are getting in. So for those of you that are again coming in, there are going to be some interactive parts. So if you will look on the screen, we are asking you to open a new tab and go to hellosmart.com. Right? And join as a guest. But for the sake of time, so that we make sure that we give you all the best tips and tricks that we have to help you, we're going to go ahead and move on to introductions. The good thing about you all logging in to, again, Hello Smart is you're going to follow along with this presentation as we go through. So if your Zoom screen is small, feel free to stay on this tab that from Hello Smart, and you'll be able to see the full screen. So my name is Matt Wallace. I'm an education strategist for Smart Technologies. I've been a lifelong educator. Started out as a high school government teacher in Virginia Beach, Virginia, where I'm still based. Did a short stint in admin before leaving and going to become a higher education strategist, both for Pearson and Cengage, trying to get college professors to integrate technology, which was probably my most challenging role that I've had. I joined Smart 5 years ago as part of their implementation team, and then just recently switched over to my current role. Love education, love helping, and really, am driven by trying to help you all find ways to support your students, especially when you have so much being thrown at you. So it's a pleasure to have, my colleague Marybeth with me. So I'm going to let her go ahead and introduce herself. Marybeth.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Hi there, I'm Marybeth Jones. I am an education sales consultant in the Northeast. I live in New Jersey, and I basically cover from New Jersey all the way up through Maine. I'm also a former second grade teacher, so I'm really happy to be among a lot of K-5 educators today, I know. And really, I think I just speak from both Matt and myself that we just feel tons of empathy for how flexible you've had to be over the last few months and kind of going into this unknown, right, for this upcoming school year. So I'm really excited to share some really good strategies with you today and kind of help you bridge that gap with the learning loss.
Excellent. Well, again, so, thank you, Marybeth. So what are we going to do today? So again, we can all agree that this has been, uncharted times. And so we really want, to come in here today and try to offer you all, advice, share with you what the experts are saying, what teachers have been saying to really help overcome, that summer slide, or what they're now calling the COVID slide due to this. So we're going to briefly talk about that, how we can overcome it, active learning. But the meat of today's session, we really want to show you the tools that you have access to and how you can really integrate those. So that will be the majority of our session, so that when you walk away today, you have, a few, activities by tomorrow that you can implement tomorrow in your classrooms, for those of you that are already heading back this week. But to kick that off, we'd like to get some of your input early on. So those of you that have logged in, on your screen, what you should see is a dialogue that pops up. We'll put this question also in the chat. But what we want to know early on is, how have you addressed, the summer slide in the past, right? So not going into this year, but in a typical year, we all know about the summer slide. How have you, over time, addressed it? So great, we already see one coming in. And I'm just going to turn off some of our names. For those of you that are new to Smart, the tool that I just used inside of our online software is something called a Shout It Out. So again, great informal assessments, obviously formative. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about what they're thinking this year in regards to review work. Again, I know we have some other participants coming in. Embedded
It also
review.
looks like, Matt, we have some coming through in the chat. Maybe if some folks
Okay,
don't have
okay.
the ability, just sending home some summer homework packets, it looks like. Kind of getting ahead of it, right? Sending things to work on over the summer.
And for those of you that are in the chat, just don't mind if you see me talking about our software. If you came in late, just know that we'll go over that. But again, quick review. We're talking about summer reading. Great. I'm going to kind of just mention when we get into it today about this diagnostic test and what we should or shouldn't do, or at least what the experts are also saying. Academic packets, lots of PD. I think that is critical for this year, especially with what we're all up against. All right, so thanks for the great answers. I do want to spend time, I can give you the tips. So let's move on quickly. Your screen will change if you are actively participating in the session. So learning loss. It's been that buzz since early spring. We all know that there's been that typical summer slide, but due to what has happened back obviously in the spring, some of our students haven't had any face-to-face instruction for up to 6 months, depending on when your school shut down and then out. And so a recent survey or a research study was done that they're expecting really only about 70% of that learning gain in reading to stay. So that's going to be that challenge. Marybeth, what's your take?
Sorry, Matt, I must have hit the mute button there. But absolutely, I mean, I think we've all experienced this to an extent over the summer. In second grade, I can remember students kind of going back maybe 1 to 2 reading levels over the summer. And unfortunately, I think as a result of this being almost double that amount of time, we can expect to see almost double the amount of learning loss over this long period. So we're happy today to kind of show you some concrete ways that we can address those and how we can really kind of aid those students in gaining that back.
Excellent. So really, how are we overcoming, or what are they saying we should be doing for overcoming that learning loss? And, a few things, for the general part of this is they've been saying, we still need to make sure that we have that solid curriculum. Again, I think you already have that. But they want to emphasize the commitment to this year, the grade level, teaching, not trying to review everything that may or may not have missed in the spring. And also making sure that strategies that you're using are really engaging, your students. But the biggest thing, and it's something that we've always done, but at the same time, they have really, put out there to advise, is informal or regular formative assessments, done, before you start your unit, during each daily lesson, because they really want to find where your students are now. That diagnostic that was mentioned, that was great, years past. In fact, Marybeth, you speak to that about the value of diagnostics.
Yeah, absolutely. I think here with, both the informal and formative assessments, really including gamification and check for understanding along the way, having those exit tickets before students leave so you know where to pick up kind of on the next day, and really just making sure that every step of the way that we're checking in to see, are they understanding, do they need intervention?
Yeah. One of the pundits was recently saying in an article in Education Week was, the reason that we're not looking at diagnostic as much is because it's not going to be as granular. And we really, for what we're all expecting, we really have to dive deep, into it. And to do that would really focus more on when you get into right now learning, that's when you really want to do those assessments. So formative assessment is, key, but also, as it said, active learning. Again, I believe that we're all doing this, but just re-emphasizing to make sure that we are continuing to make learning in this hybrid or this virtual environment, try more than ever to really make it interactive and not just having students listen to videos that we're providing them, and really do more than just listening and get them engaging in activities, right? So Marybeth, what do you What do you say about
Yeah,
it?
I think just finding a way to really meet the needs of all the diverse learners in the classroom. So we want to make sure that we're using all the different multimedias that are available to us, right? Maybe YouTube videos for our visual and our auditory learners, having those hands-on games that we can add for our kinesthetic and our tactile learners. And just being able to make sure that we're not just delivering this one way. So we're using all of the tools that we have here. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to walk you through next really the lesson delivery in a K-5 classroom. And we're going to be leveraging Smart Learning Suite Online here. So you'll be able to follow along as a student or a participant if you have logged in through our class ID. That way you can experience what some of these look like from a student perspective.
Right. And just to reemphasize, as we go through, modeling this lesson, we really just want to emphasize you all have been doing formative assessments and active learning. And the purpose here is really just to give you, new tools, or just to re-emphasize, various ways that you can continue to integrate it in a virtual environment. So those of you that did go to hellosmart.com, you are going through that student experience. And today we're going to go through, I chose a second grade standard. So identifying vowel patterns, short and long-term, vowel sounds, as one of those that tends to maybe be, maybe happens in that learning loss, that summer slide, right? So as we go through, the structure, we're going to give you some of those examples. If you have questions about how to create, that the second half of how we demo this is going to show you how easy this is to integrate into your current content. I want you all to know that all of this that I did isn't because I'm an expert for SMART, and I'll show you how quick, within 1 to 2 clicks, you can do each of these things. So what's our first step in this lesson, Marybeth?
Yeah, so we're going to kick it off with a pre-assessment. Really gathering that baseline data for our students, because that's going to be key. We might not have even been able to capture a benchmark assessment in the spring. So this is really going to be telling of where we are, where do we need to start, and how do we need to differentiate as we navigate this lesson.
Excellent. Those of you that are here, this is going to pop up, on your screen. We're not going to spend time really going through this right now for the sake of time. I want to show you. But the thing that I do want to emphasize to you all is, oops, you all may just have gotten kicked out, and that is due to my...
I'm still in, Matt.
Okay. If anyone got kicked out, my apologies. I just had a power surge here in Virginia Beach. So be patient, hopefully.
That's Murphy's Law, isn't it?
Yes.
When you need the power, you don't have the power. All right, I did just submit my answers, so hopefully folks are able to actually answer some of those. And while you get that back up, kind of the beauty of this one that Matt's about to show you is the fact that you can do this formal pre-assessment on the student devices, and then what you can actually do, and when Matt gets this up, we'll be able to show you, you can actually pull concrete data from Smart Learning Suite. So I can pull out the answers and see who scored, which one's correct, which ones were incorrect, and see who needs some intervention on each one of these skills. Give you a minute, Matt. Hopefully you can get that back up there. No, take your time. Looks like, oh, good. Looks like some of the folks were able to submit before the surge happened.
Okay. But sorry again, everyone.
Nope, that's okay. And it looks like we just have a couple questions kind of about, do you need to go back in? As soon as Matt gets this back up and running, we should all be able to refresh and get pulled back in there. So we'll give that a sec. And I want you to keep in mind that while we're showing you some of these, we're kind of giving you teasers of a few that you could use for each, right? For a pre-assessment and maybe for a check for understanding along the way. But there are many more that you'll see when we go to the edit mode, and you will be able to kind of see how you can gather some different ones and distribute them to students. It looks like we're back.
Yes, we should be back.
So you should be
Better
seeing your
share my
screen
screen
reload.
again.
Yeah,
Yes.
awesome.
Just give it a second for me to load back up and jump back down to the current spot. Know that wherever you are in this page, that it will, yes, I understand my internet is unstable now, as you all can see. But the reason that I wanted to show you this is because of that ability for you to export your results and have actual data in an Excel file. So if you click export results, it will ask you to download, and you'll have access to an Excel file that shows you an item analysis, student data. That's really what you need for that pre-assessment heading into the unit. But now that we have that data and we're heading into the unit, know that we're not saying that should be for today's lesson. It's just that pre-assessment is heading into that unit.
Yep.
What are we going to do?
So now we're going to really kickstart the lesson, and this is our hook. This is our anticipatory set. We're getting the students really actively engaged and excited for the content that we're about to deliver. So this is going to be the portion of our lesson where we're going to ask our students to activate prior knowledge. And Matt's going to demonstrate this through one of our gamification features that we have in here called Monster Quiz.
So again, here we are, making it an activity, making the learning active for them. But this is also another level of a formative assessment. So this could be kicking off this particular lesson in a more engaging way, and you'll see how we'll get feedback. So those of you that are, in this class, you're going to participate. What I can see real quick is these are my students. So from a distance learning or remote learning environment, know that I still, have the ability to see my students' names and make sure, are they actively in the class? What is also really good about this particular one is I can click divide into teams. We're going to put you all in teams of 3. Know that because now, and that's again in terms of how easy it is to start. We may not let this run all the way through, but even though you guys are all over, the Northeast, as we've seen, you all can still, technically work together and collaborate on this. So,
No, Matt, can you just hit start quiz up? It looks like you did. Perfect. I thought maybe you had it ready before.
So there we go. I can see, look at that. Hopefully, we all know this. Although I will tell you all, as you're answering quickly, that as a former high school government teacher, it did take me a little bit to make sure I was
Little refresher course.
checking my answers to make sure I didn't make one of those errors. So we're getting close. But again, here's another great way if you have to do synchronous learning, that you're able to pull those two together. So the boom boxers came in first. What I'm going to do is, just for the sake of time, I'm going to end that. But where I said that this was a formative assessment is I can quickly click on this review button. I can get an overall team, but really it's the class review. And you on your screen, on your tab, whether it's through Zoom or not, should be able to see this. And what this is telling me, this little pie chart, is that most of you got this one right. Now, I don't know if I did, but I just want to make sure. And that can tell me that, you know what, it looks like the majority of the class has mastered the long and short vowel. So I can go on with the current year, teaching. I don't have to think about other remediation or other interventions. But again, a fun, engaging way to go ahead and do that. All right, Marybeth, do you want to add anything about the end result there?
No, I think it's important just to mention this is one of our collaborative gamifications where you can actually group students together. We do have independent ones also that Matt will go through at the end when we're in edit mode. And then here we're kind of getting into the meat of the lesson, right? This is going to be the our mini lesson. And really for our gradual release of responsibility in the classroom, we can model that I do here, and then we do, you do in setting the students free on their own. But we're gonna model this through a mini lesson before we're able to kind of assign and differentiate instruction. So Matt, do you wanna talk a little bit about the infinite cloner there that you have on the left?
Sure. So what this activity is, it is, again, a bunch of magnets, but this can be found on our Smart Exchange, but each of these letters are infinitely cloned. Therefore, for you as the instructor or the student, you can continuously pull over letters and make words out of that, just like if you had your own personal collection of refrigerator magnets. So if I wanted to pull again another C, I could continue to pull those C's as often as I would like. Right? So that's the activity itself. It is found on the Smart Exchange. All you have to do is type in the refrigerator magnet. In fact, I'll go ahead and as Marybeth is kind of walking through the actual, I'll put a link to that in the chat.
Perfect. Yeah, this is one of my favorite ones, the refrigerator magnet. But I think here we just are going to give you kind of a brief sneak peek at what this is. But if I were working with my students on vowel patterns and maybe focusing on that CVC pattern, that consonant, vowel, consonant, and maybe I were to model a few here, the word cat. Matt, if you want to put the T there, we can kind of show how I could model a few. And then maybe after I model a few of these, I want to create a collaborative workspace for students to work on this a little bit together. And I, as the teacher, can facilitate that and see if there needs to be intervention as students work. So on the fly, Matt's actually gonna make this into a collaborative workspace.
And that's the thing that we want to continue to emphasize about, the tool is once you take your pre-made content, you don't have to recreate it, but your pre-made content and upload it into Smart Learning Suite Online, you're able to quickly add even on the fly. So right now, maybe this was meant to be just an I do, but you do want to give students a chance. I'm going to come up here to my student icon. It may be hard to see, small on your screen. But when I do that, I can see that I have a choice of turning this into an individual handout or a collaborative workspace. And that collaborative workspace will allow you and another student or two to work together on this. And we're going to show you that experience. So I'm going to choose collaborative. So again, great for you to do in your current environment where it's going to be that distance learning environment. Similar to what we saw in the monster quiz, you do have to choose how many. There is a little math involved. I have 17 people that are active. If I want groups of 2, obviously now that I have 18, it's perfect. I'm going to choose teams of 9, and you're going to be paired up with someone. By the way, if you have seen that maybe Tracy, for example, doesn't get along with LeBron, love the name, you can move Tracy down, right? And then the other student up. So you can also still manipulate these groups after they've been placed. You do have to remember to hit start. And now you should have a workspace that opened up where you should be able to grab individual magnets, right, and begin to manipulate those. Now, as the instructor, what I can do, even from my desk here in Virginia Beach, is I can click into some of these workspaces, which I'm going to do. So those of you that are in a workspace, I would start doing something. Same thing that you can do in your virtual environment that you have. So let's see. Excellent. So
Yeah,
I can see that they, put in tree. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to mention the attribution here. It looks like you were just about to touch on that, though.
Yeah, but I am looking at, because of the infinite cloner.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So in collaborative workspaces, you'll notice in some of them that you can actually see who's contributing what, which is a key feature we just added, and that way you can kind of see who's doing the group work, who's collaborating with their peers, and who's contributing.
What I can do also as the instructor, and I'm going to use this specific group, but I could come in, I could put a check mark next to theirs. I could leave a comment. Again, you have to appreciate my writing on a tablet. But this is if I wanted to do that. I think at this point, I don't have to. I am able to even come in and type, which would be better.
Yep, and the student would see that on their end as well. So this is a workspace between students and the teacher to be able to provide that immediate feedback.
So no, Annika and Nina, you may not, speak out loud, but yes, you're able to, hopefully you are able to see that. And if either one of you just wants to verify that for the rest of the group in the chat, just so that they know that I wasn't making it up.
You weren't making it up.
Excellent. That's there. So again, great tool. But, what happens, Marybeth, if we're, watching this and we're realizing, what, some of these groups really aren't getting it, and I may need, to do something else.
So the beautiful thing about this is that it's really, although we're kind of pre-creating this, we can also adjust it on the fly. So one of the things that Matt can show us is how I can quickly add a blank page while I'm teaching my students. If I say, what, it looks like we need a little more work on that CVC magic E. We're going to work a little bit on that long vowel pattern. And maybe I'm going to come up with a word like page, P-A-G-E, and I'll write it on here. And then we can talk a little bit about that.
Sorry.
That's okay, about that long vowel pattern. Okay, so just being able to have the ability to add a blank page on the fly if you need intervention for your students. And if you were working on the panel, you would, of course, just pick up a pen and write.
Yes. Right.
Beautiful handwriting.
Oh, thank you so much. That the high school teacher in me wants to make sure that I'm doing this correct. So
yep, CVC. Yep, and then we would have an E. So it would be that CVC magic E pattern. Yep, you could just put an E there.
Ooh. Yeah. Would not be able to do that. But as Marybeth said, we want just really to emphasize to you that a lot of this is so that you on the fly, obviously there's some planning, but even along the way, you can quickly just add in, some elements to make sure that you can offer, remediation.
Exactly.
So now we've gone through that, direct instruction, and what comes next?
So now we're really checking for understanding, and this is going to be the point in our lesson where we are checking in with the progress of our students. Do they need an intervention before we go to independent work? And really getting them ready for the station. So I think, Matt, did we put a few examples here of that check for understanding that we can maybe demonstrate?
We did, but what I would like to do at this point for everyone is to take you out of the student experience. So I just want to emphasize that so far, all of you as participants have been in the student role. So that's what your students will see. I do just want to point out real quick that all of you, your screens were being controlled by me. I shouldn't say controlled, but as I went through the presentation, your slides went with me. I can toggle that on and off, at any point in teacher, by coming up, doing teacher and student mode, and you should see now a slide. But if I want to pull you all back in, again, I can come back to teacher. So great, again, for being able to start maybe everyone together at their same pace. You want to go over instructions, but then you can just click one button and you're turning control over to your students. I am going to point out that right now, as the instructor, I'm going to jump out of this lesson, which is also going to pull you all out. But I could give you a link to get you all back in without me ever getting back in. But I do want to show you in the time remaining how I created this check for understanding versus just demoing it from the student perspective. I will emphasize that at this point, you can close that other tab and look back now at Zoom, at the sharing of my screen on Zoom, because that is where you're going to see this interaction. And again, don't forget, this is recorded, so you are going to be able to go back and reference what I just did. But once I log into SLS Online, this is my interface. This is the lesson I was just operating from. Just for today, for the time, I'm going to go in and just click Edit. And what we're really going to show here is all I did was upload. This was actually a Google slide presentation, but if it was a PowerPoint, even better, a notebook file from Smart, all you have to do is import that file or upload it. And then everything I do from here on, you're able to do in that lesson. So we're coming down to that check for understanding. And this little plus on the lower left-hand corner, when I click on that plus, this is what I get. And because we're emphasizing that formative assessment, those checks for understanding, we want you to know that there are 12 pre-made activities. You know, they're here under question and reflection. What's some of the value of these, Marybeth?
Well, you know, I just want to mention a lot of these can be used both asynchronously and synchronously, which I think is really important for us to remember here, that if we do want to create some sort of digital packet or something and put it on our Google Classroom, that can be leveraged. And it can also be leveraged, like Matt is showing us right now, in a live, either video classroom setting or in a true live classroom. So a lot of these can really be leveraged for both.
So to Marybeth's point earlier, if I just want to do a quick check for understanding, you know, how am I feeling or how are my students feeling about where we are? It's already pre-made. And this one, again, has emojis, not only for that kind of real life effect, but what else is valuable for second graders, maybe, Marybeth, of having those emojis there and not just the words?
Right, absolutely. To be able to have the students relate maybe to the picture if they can't understand the writing there.
Actually, right. But this is really coming across to them. Are they getting it? Emphasizing, we're not always looking for that summative assessment, but this is a real quick way of finding out where are they getting this. All right. So that's how I would, you know, create that for check for understanding. So let's say we see our students there and we want to, you know, differentiate. Why would we go ahead and do that, Marybeth?
Yep. So when we're talking about differentiating, really meeting the needs of all the students in the classroom, how can we now create content for students that might maybe be able to help them recall prior knowledge in a YouTube video? How can we use that infinite cloner, some different games and collaborative workspaces in our differentiation? And also a lot of those games, Matt, that I know that you took a little time to show, the super sort, the rank order, and really give students what they need and have the teacher have the ability to meet with a small group.
So again, everyone, just want to keep, you know, emphasizing this little plus. When I'm in the edit mode, I can come in and I can add. So to Marybeth's point, maybe some students need some more direct instruction. That could be a YouTube that's pre-made from another company, or it could be a YouTube that your district has made and has a website themselves. But what I do want to emphasize are these game-based activities. So that monster quiz was created inside, you know, of here. So you can get a quick preview, or let's say it is a super sort. Great for this val pattern, as you can see here. But what I would do is select, and then I would get this drop down. So I could easily put in, and then, give you, not cat.
All right, so let's say CAP, maybe, CAP.
There we go.
Right?
And I'm just going to do one long would be now.
And we could do CAPE.
Ah, there we go.
Really make it, yeah. Oh no, that will go in. CAPE under our long.
See, and that is why.
That's why we're sticking to the high school. CAPE under long and CAP under short so that we can use.
What I also want to point out is wherever you see this little icon, you can add Again, images. So again, not too worried about.
Definitely.
Yeah. Let me just show you real quick. Obviously, we're on this, but I have a series of videos, images. Come in, add that in. I know that may not be correct.
But we
And
get
then
the
I have
idea
a
of
lot
how to
again
add it.
to make it more engaging. I have a bunch of backgrounds, and I can even customize if I want. I'll pick what tends to be some of the favorite, and there we go. That is the extent of it. For those of you that may be wondering, there are a couple hundred that are already pre-made on Smart Exchange. Again, the link was put in the chat earlier. If you want to put it again, and that library is ever growing every day. So for the sake of time, I just want to point out that the exit tickets equally are down here with this plus. And again, they're under that question and reflection, and here is a bunch of them. But I'll let Marybeth wrap up, and then we'll open up for questions.
Yeah, we did have a couple questions actually come through, Matt, that I can kind of field here. Maybe we can work on them together. One of the questions was how folks can use this remotely. And I can answer to that. I mean, basically, is this a really enhanced experience when you're in the classroom and you're working on a panel? Absolutely. But you're seeing right now, completely remote from us, what it looks like as a student, maybe in a screen share and opening up a browser to open the lesson, what this looks like remote for students. So this can absolutely be leveraged in a remote classroom setting. When Smart built this out, it wasn't for COVID and to meet COVID needs. However, it is an amazing tool that so many districts are using during this COVID pandemic. Go ahead.
And to continue to emphasize that point about how we were doing it, you also don't have to start that live with the students. Most of you have some type of LMS, whether that is Schoology, Google Classroom, I'm trying to think of some of the other, Canvas. You can take the lesson link, there is a share link in here, and use that. But if you are a Google district, there is direct integration that you can actually have these lessons right within your Google Classroom and in your Google Drive. And additionally, if you're a Microsoft Teams district and you're using Teams, same thing. You can operate from directly within there. So the environment that you all were in today was you joined through Zoom. So think about if you're using Zoom, that's what your students would do. And then I was just sharing my screen with you all, and they had to go ahead and type in. If you are with first or second graders, yes, you may want to embed the link for them anyway inside of your LMS. We have schools that do it with Clever as well, but I know even in Schoology, you can embed this right inside of Schoology, and the students just click on that, as well. So excellent question.
Absolutely. And the other question that we had come through was in regards to, can you use Smart Exchange lessons, activities or link, and embed those into a Google slide or a Seesaw, and how that works?
Right. So what you would do there, so for Google Slides, for example, like I think I was telling you all that this was a Google slide presentation. So when and again, right now I'm operating from my Microsoft account, but don't tell anybody. But when you would do that, when you go to import, because I'm in Microsoft, it's let me import that PowerPoint. But if I was doing this from Google, I'll see if I can quickly try to do this with our time. But if I wanted to come in with a Google presentation, I can come in and create from new. This should be the same for all of you more. And then Smart Learning Suite, or better yet, to show you something that's more applicable, I can also come in. I do have to right click on my Google slide presentation and do open with Smart Learning Suite. If you wanted to put it in here, you're not going to be able to take an SLS file and throw it into and deliver it through Google, right? The idea is you take your Google presentation and put it in here, and then
Right.
add these formative assessments, gamification tools.
Exactly.
As
And
for Seesaw, I know, again, that's everyone. Go ahead. Yep.
well, I was going to say basically with that, taking a read-only file like a PDF, a Google slide, right? And taking that and importing it to Smart Learning Suite Online, what's going to happen is you're going to take this read-only file and you're going to be able to make it really interactive, add the gamification, but also not have to recreate the content that you've already created. So that's really the beauty of this platform and what it's designed to do, not to reinvent the wheel,
And
take the content.
Marybeth is spot on. And we want to really emphasize, we're not, no point should this be you having to go back and recreate your content. You have your content there. It's really showing with this slide, the COVID slide, what you can do. And hopefully we showed you how many opportunities just through a few clicks, you can add in multiple assessments inside of the lesson and not having to have your students be following you necessarily in one platform and then have to go out to, quizzes or Kahoot or Padlet or this to do each of those parts. You can do all of those within one, platform, which is a lot easier for those students, especially in the K-5 environment.
Absolutely.
Any other
I know we're kind of running out. We're kind of at the end of our session time right now, but certainly if you have any other questions, we are happy to, you can send them over to tech, you can send them to us at Smart, and we're happy to field those for you.
I'll go ahead and put, I'm just going to put up our contact information again for everyone here on the screen. So as Marybeth said, feel free to reach out, at any point. There's my email, Matt Wallace at Smart, Marybeth Jones as well. More than happy to help, at any time with follow up. But other than that, thank you so much for attending. Really appreciate, the time that you spent with us today, and wish you guys all the best. Thank you for doing what you do, especially during this, time that I don't think any of us could have expected or planned for. So really appreciate what you all are doing.
Absolutely.
Marybeth and Matt, thank you both so much for presenting today. This was really wonderful. And if we don't have, Angela's question wasn't answered. Angela?
Yep, that's it. Just messaging her back, actually.
Okay, perfect.
She was curious about using it remotely, but it looks like maybe I misunderstood. Share with us. The PowerPoint, absolutely.
Yes.
Nina, you plan on doing that,
Yep.
correct?
So you're all going to receive a follow-up email today that has a recording of this session as well as the slide deck. So you'll have that handy.
Alrighty. And do we have, Nina, all the contact info then? So I can make sure that we follow up with Angela. I know we're kind of at the top of the time, but I want to make sure we get her question answered.
Yeah, I'll make sure to get that over to you both.
All right. Sounds good.
With that, everyone, at 2 o'clock, we have engaging students in modern STEM learning in person, virtually, and in hybrid settings. That is with UB Tech. So make sure to join us for that. If you haven't registered for the remaining sessions, you can do that by going to the www.tech.com page. There you will see the events tab. Click on that. You'll see the Tech Virtual Summit. Click on that. And there's all of the session descriptions as well as the registration links. All right, with that, thank you, Matt. Thank you, Marybeth. This was wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.